What's up, everybody? Unrested back again with another JFAQ. Today, once again, very rainy outside. Well, JFAQ is Japan's frequently asked questions. I am Unrested with the questions you requested. Today we are talking about Japan's idols and the history thereof. Idols are anything from singers in bands to famous voice actors, actors in TV shows, models, grabia idols. There's many different types. Today what we're going to go through is kind of just a history of how they evolved in Japan, how their careers work out today, and things that can kind of mess them up in their careers, things that can destroy their careers, oh no. And where do they go after those idol careers end? Because usually they mostly only do an idol career in their youth. 20s on up to like maybe you can get into late 30s, but you're kind of pushing it at that point. Anyway, idols. Idols started somewhere around the 1970s. I'm sure you could point out a few spots earlier than that in which idols started out too, but they would kind of be on this border between idols and whatever sort of performers were more popular back then. Idols were just starting to come along in the 1970s, and during that time, they had kind of this very weird display on media. They would be portrayed as these people who lived these extravagant lives and had almost these saccharinely sweet obsessions and hobbies outside of their normal career. They would be said to live in really nice houses and get paid glamorous amounts of money when really on the side they weren't really making that much. Their incomes were pretty low for what they were doing. And most of the money earned by their music and their CDs, well, I guess back then it would have been records, was going mostly to the musicians and the managers and the production companies. Eventually, when this started to come out and people started to realize what kind of BS that was in the 1980s, idols started to be portrayed as more normal, down-to-earth people. They got times on TV, whereas before they really wouldn't get any much time on TV. If they did, it was only a couple minutes to say a very few scripted lines. They might have had fan clubs, but even the letters sent out from those fan clubs were extremely scripted and kept within the bounds of always making the idol look perfect. If they had any personal relationships or anything very personal going on in their life, it was always kept out of the media. For example, any tragedies they may face or anything like that, it was kept as though their life was completely perfect all the time. In the 1980s, that started to evolve into letting them go on TV. But even then, apparently, the interactions that they would have with other TV personalities would be scripted. They still weren't allowed to totally be 100% realistic people. Their hobbies and stuff were still said to be these extravagant things, like they owned a mansion and rode horses in their free time. Whereas finally now, as we got into the 1990s and 2000, eventually production companies started to realize a lot of the idols had more of a connection with their fans when they were given the right to just say what they actually did with their free time. For example, they enjoyed trying ramen at different ramen restaurants. The fans started to have more of a connection because it seemed more down to earth. They started to realize that some of these people had the everyday likes and dislikes that they had. And also, I think it made some of the people who obsess over these idols feel like they had more of a chance with them, because most of the times the people obsessing over these people have these fantasy dreams of having some sort of relationship with these idols. And someone can't really seem within your grasp if they're living this highfalutin life that's far more extravagant than anything you'll ever see or do. Whereas studios, managers, production companies started to realize making the different things that these people did more realistic and down-to-earth type things, they had more of a connection with fans. So they had things like, they said, I like to go to cake shops and try out different cakes. You know, my favorite food is gyoza, and they could say normal down-to-earth things like that. They were just more humanized, really. They're allowed to be more down-to-earth, realistically real people, but still to this day, a lot of their private life is hidden from the media. And oftentimes, a lot of these idols are even forbid to be in relationships, or if they are, they're hidden quite a bit from the media. Or if they eventually reach an age where they decide they do want to get married and start a relationship, oftentimes this will be near the end of their idol career. They don't want to mess up their idol career with the fact that they would get married, because that can bring down their popularity, because it breaks the fantasy for all these people who imagine one day they could possibly have a relationship with them. I guess the fact that they're married now shows that this is 100% impossible. It's crazy if you look at some stuff that's been written before in the past. This is not the average idol fan, but there's some maniacs out there when idols have gotten married and stuff in the past, the fans have written just cruel, mean things like, I hope his wife dies, or I hope she gets into an accident, or they get a divorce, or I hope she has a miscarriage. Like horrible, horrible things like that. And the guy's side too, they've said horrible things too, or they like hope the boyfriend dies and the boyfriend gets into a car accident or something like that. But for the most part, that's not your average idol fan. For the most part, they always wish their idol good wishes. But there is some almost maniac type fervor sometimes for how much these people obsess over these idols. Some career destroyers that can happen for idols is if any kind of event of them having like a secret rendezvous with a lover is found out by the media. Oftentimes these are grainy pictures that are picked up in things that are the equivalent to tabloids in other countries. If the media finds out this kind of stuff, publishes it, and the record company can't do anything to kind of cover it up or make up a story or kind of back out of it, they oftentimes have to let the idol go. There was the most recent one that probably most people know about is the AKB singer who was found to be having a relationship, and when she was found out, she shaved her head as an oath of humbleness, of an apology to her company. When her company was confronted about this, when her management was confronted about this, if they really were not allowed to have any sort of relationship, they denied it completely. They said they've never heard of this rule. They don't know about anybody not being allowed to have a relationship. She hasn't lost her job. She's still working for AKB, but I know almost everybody working for that company, when they hit 20, usually they graduate and they're out on their own. Out on their own after the whole idol phase in their life can be pretty hard for idols, although they can go on to be actors and actresses and star in short TV shows, movies, etc. It is a struggle. It is a brutal competition to get into that stuff. To see some of the stuff that these girls struggle to get into from this AKB48 group after they graduate is just, whew, sometimes almost kind of pathetic. Sometimes the stuff you see them throw themselves into. But you know, what can you do if that's if going after a whole celebrity career is the path you want to take? You really can't dog anybody for going after what their dream is. Anyway, this is the whole evolution of the idol over time, the history thereof, how their lifestyles work today. There is so much more to cover in this topic, and if you want me to, feel free to throw more questions at me below in the comments. I hope you enjoyed everything you heard today. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. I am Unrested with the questions you requested. This is JFAQ, Japan's frequently asked questions.